What if I told you that the people of the North survived the endless winter darkness using something as simple as leftovers? In a land where night swallowed entire months and daylight barely scraped the horizon, fire wasn't a luxury, it was survival itself. Father, accept this flame, keep watch over us. Keeping a fire alive when every stick of wood was precious demanded more than strength. It demanded creativity. And the northern tribes discovered a method that turned scraps from daily life into a dependable source of warmth and light. Not a roaring bonfire, but a slow, stubborn ember that clung to life through blizzards and black skies. They learned to stretch energy the way a hunter stretches the last meal of a journey, using materials most people would throw away. Here, take this, warm yourself. Thank you. The wind grows fierce tonight. Watch until the end, and you'll learn how simple animal fat, a carved bowl of heat-holding stone, and a strand of wild moss became a self-sustaining heater that could burn quietly for days. The darkness that shaped a civilization. Night in the North wasn't empty. It felt alive, heavy, watchful, almost breathing. Deep among frozen mountains and drowned valleys, months of twilight blurred the line between morning and evening. The sun faded into nothing more than a distant rumor. During these months, the world of the living shrank to the walls of a single hall. The psychological weight alone was enough to grind a person down. Shadows fueled old fears. Tales of creatures, spirits, and giants said to wander just beyond the reach of the fire's glow. Stepping outside the circle of light meant stepping into the unknown, guided only by the bite of the wind and the crunch of snow underfoot. Fire kept the mind anchored. Without it, imagination filled the silence with threats. Cold was an enemy just as relentless. Frozen soil made collecting firewood dangerous and exhausting. A roaring fire devoured logs faster than anyone could replenish them. A house left without heat for even a few hours became a freezing trap. Homes, long, low, turf-covered structures, were built like insulated shells. But no insulation could replace a steady flame. What these people needed wasn't a towering blaze. They needed a small fire that endured, something economical, portable, predictable, something that could burn all night without someone constantly tending it. And so they turned to the densest energy source they had. Not forests, but the animals that fed them. The fat that kept their bodies alive became the fuel that kept their homes alive. This was the birth of the oil lamp, the quiet heart of the northern household. Its flame wasn't loud or bright, but it was loyal. It couldn't replace the great hearth, yet it supported it, filling corners with warmth, guiding hands at night, and keeping families safe when wood was scarce. It was more than a tool. It was a survival advantage. With this light, people repaired weapons, fixed tools, and continued work long after the central fire faded. The lamp's light was soft, golden, and deep. It carried stories, revealed faces, and stretched time through the winter months. Tell me, what do you think frightened them more? The enemies they fought, or the winter that never ended? The true fuel of the North. Are you ready for what truly powered northern life? Not gold, not wood, fat. In a world where crops failed more often than they succeeded, livestock was the backbone of wealth. Cattle, sheep, goats, and pigs provided more than food. They provided energy, solid, slow-burning animal fat. The process of extracting this fuel was simple but time-consuming. After an animal was butchered, the fat was separated and gently heated until it melted into a clear, dense liquid. This careful rendering removed impurities and water, leaving behind a wax-like block that stored enormous energy. The quality depended entirely on how well the rendering was done. What emerged was a winter treasure, pale, solid fat that stayed fresh for months and could be used in countless ways for cooking, preserving, treating leather, waterproofing wood, and most importantly, burning. They said the storms would bury us this year, yet here we stand, the stores full, the lamps burning. Rendered fat was stored in barrels and clay jars, stacked in cool cellars like a secret reserve of warmth. In harsh winters, it was as valuable as grain or iron. But domesticated animals weren't the only source. The sea, the eternal companion of northern people, also provided fuel. Skilled sailors and hunters collected fat from seals, whales, and other marine creatures. Though strong-smelling, this blubber burned hot and bright. "Pull! The waves won't wait for us." Fishing gave another gift. From the livers of cod and other oily fish came liquid fuel, thinner than solid fat but abundant along the coasts. Entire villages burned fish oil through the darkest months. Not all fat was equal. Homeland fat was prized. It burned clean with almost no smoke. Plork fat melted quickly but spoiled faster. Ish oil burned well but filled rooms with a heavy smell and left greasy soot. Salmon fat produced strong light for workshops where craftsmen worked into the night. But fat alone wasn't enough. They needed a vessel capable of holding heat without cracking, a material more valuable in winter than worked iron. The stone that holds fire. Its discovery in the sagas always sounded mythic. A stone that could drink heat. This stone existed. Soft to carve, impossible to burn. Soapstone. At first glance, it was unremarkable, a dull gray rock. But its properties made it priceless. Cord could be shaped with simple tools, almost like carving wood. Resisted open flame without shattering. Absorbed heat slowly and released it steadily over hours. This stone turned a humble lamp into a heater. A bowl carved from soapstone became warm as the flame burned. Even after the fire died, the stone continued radiating heat like a sleeping ember. Entire quarries in Norway and Sweden supplied this material. Archaeologists have found countless objects, bowls, pots, molds, and especially lamps, from rough blanks to beautiful carved masterpieces. Lamp makers carved shallow bowls, sometimes with a narrow spout to guide the wick. Others added stems or handles. Some decorated their lamps with simple lines and patterns, every piece telling the story of the hands that shaped it. Carving wasn't complicated, but it demanded patience. Too thin a wall cracked, too thick wasted precious fuel space. But anyone with basic tools could make one, which made soapstone the people's material. It even shaped their everyday life, used in hearthstones, cooking pots, molds for casting metal. But the lamp? That's where the stone truly shined, turning fat into warmth that refused to die. If you admire the forgotten craftsmanship of the old stoneworkers, send this video some support. The wick, the heart of the flame. Now that we have the fuel in the vessel, there's one more ingredient, the soul of the lamp, the wick. A bowl of fat does nothing unless something draws that liquid upward to burn. So the wick had to be absorbent, durable, and able to carry melted fat through capillary action. Surprisingly, the perfect material grew in the wettest, coldest places. Bog moss. Sphagnum moss, abundant across northern bogs, was nature's sponge. Once dried and twisted, it became a wick that burned slowly and reliably. Its flame wasn't bright, but it was steady. the ideal choice for long nights. Other fibers were used too. Scraps of flax or hemp from old weaving workshops, strips of worn-out wool or linen clothing, twisted plant fibers from seasonal harvests. Nothing was wasted. Even a torn shirt could find a second life lighting a sleeping corner. Wicks needed care. As they burned, soot collected at the top. Too much soot meant smoke and waste. A quick trim with a knife restored a clean flame. Raising the wick created more light, but consumed fuel faster. Lowering it saved fat, but dimmed the room. Families learned to balance it, a small but essential skill in the rhythm of winter life. This simple trio, stone, fat, and moss, was a masterpiece of efficiency. No moving parts, no fragile mechanisms, just raw materials transformed into enduring warmth. But how could such a tiny flame help heat an entire room? Let's step into the physics of a northern home. A world heated by many small fires. Although solid fat was the main energy source, fuel varied by region, wealth, and season. You could almost call it a hierarchy of fuel. 1. Premium fat, beef or sheep tallow. Long-lasting, nearly smokeless, perfect for living spaces. 2. Everyday fat, pork or mixed animal fat. Burned well but spoiled sooner, sometimes producing stronger smells. 3. Fish oils, abundant and cheap, but smoky with a distinct odor, common in coastal towns. 4. Blubber from marine mammals, burned hot and bright, ideal for workshops and winter repairs. 5. Pine resin mixtures, not used alone, but added to fat to create hotter, longer-burning mixtures, perfect for torches. But the real secret to 24-hour heating wasn't the fuel alone. It was scale, design, and chemistry working together. The slow-burning night heater. The legendary day-long flame wasn't a roaring light. It was a controlled smolder, designed to last. Here's how it worked. A large soapstone bowl was filled with a solid block of fat. Moss wick was positioned so only the tiniest tip was exposed. The wick melted a tiny pool of fat around itself. That liquid fed the flame. Heat of the stone then melted the next thin layer of solid fat. The process regulated itself. Small flame, slower melting. Slightly stronger flame, slightly more melting. The stone held heat like a thermal battery, keeping the cycle going even when the flame flickered. The result? A dim but persistent glow, enough to keep a room from freezing and chase away total darkness. Families often went to sleep with these lamps burning. By morning, the wick could simply be lifted to revive a stronger flame. This wasn't a heater in the modern sense, but in a well-insulated northern home, it was the difference between warmth and danger. Next, let's step inside those homes and see where these lifelines were placed. However, the light map of a northern home. A longhouse was a world under one roof, and its fires were arranged with purpose. Life revolved around two types of flame. 1. The great hearth. A long, open fire down the center of the hall. It heated food and people. Smoke escaped through roof vents, but not all of it. It lit the middle of the house brightly, but the sides remained in partial darkness. 2. The small living lamps. These were the nimble helpers of the night. Some sat in carved wall niches. Some hung from iron hoops suspended from rafters. Regates on wooden poles or small iron stands. Their golden light fell on sleeping areas, workbenches, and tables. Women spun wool and wove fabric by their glow. Men carved wood, shaped bone, repaired weapons. The light from these fat lamps was warm, shifting, alive, perfect for the sagas told during winter nights. Imagine it. Faces lit in amber hues, shadows dancing, the voice of a storyteller echoing as snowstorms battered the outside world. That was winter. Were these lamps real heaters? Modern eyes might see a tiny stone lamp and think, how could that possibly warm anything? But northern homes were built to trap every bit of heat. With turf walls nearly a meter thick and low, earth-covered roofs, a longhouse functioned like an insulated chamber. Once warm, it stayed warm, as long as the heat didn't escape. Here's how warmth worked. The main hearth created large bursts of heat for cooking and gathering. But burning wood all night was wasteful and dangerous. Once the hearth died down, several soapstone lamps took over. Each one released only a small amount of heat, but collectively, they prevented the temperature from dropping too far. And they weren't alone. Heat came from everything alive inside that structure. Dozens of people sleeping in one room, zivok kept in the adjoining space, wraith-warm stone from lamps radiating through the night. Together, these elements formed a passive heating system that kept the cold from creeping in. The lamp didn't heat the house, it held the house at a livable temperature. Turning waste into warmth. This is where northern ingenuity shines most clearly. To them, waste didn't exist. Every resource was pushed to its absolute limit. Animal fat had a strict priority system. Thumb purest fat was used as food. Lower quality fat treated leather and wood. Saskatchewan or rancid fat, useless for eating, became lamp fuel. And even the last scraps of fat trapped inside bones were extracted by boiling. This low-quality bone fat smelled awful when burned, but in workshops, barns, or desperate winters, it was life-saving. Fishing villages did the same. After gutting the catch, heads and organs were cooked down into a cloudy, pungent oil. Unpleasant, yes, but able to keep a flame alive. Every source of energy was exhausted. The cycle was complete. Calories fed the people. Leftover calories lit the home. Nothing was tossed aside. Efficiency wasn't a choice, it was survival. The smell of an ancient home. We often imagine the past visually. But what did it smell like? A longhouse lit by fat lamps had a thick, unmistakable scent. Oily aroma of burning tallow. Threat, smoky haze from moss wicks. Wealth, deep, woody perfume of a hearth fire. Wet wool drying near the walls. Leather, tar, and pine from tools and rope. Constant background of livestock. And of course, the natural scent of people living through winter with limited bathing water. To us, it would feel heavy, smoky, almost suffocating. But to them, it was the smell of warmth, life, and safety. The scent of home. The elegance of a simple system. From these humble materials, stone, fat, moss, emerged a technology perfectly shaped by its environment. Apstone captured and released heat like a battery. Animal fat melted slowly into energy-rich fuel. Wicks drew flame upward at just the right pace. Together, they formed a heater so efficient it could sustain life during the harshest months. This wasn't just a lamp, it was a philosophy. Nothing is useless. Everything has value. Survival is built from what you have. Northern people didn't fight the environment. They adapted to it with precision, patience, and creativity.